Modern heating loves to brag. Thermostats, apps, bills that arrive like threats. But during World War II, when fuel was rationed, cities were bombed, and winters didn't care about excuses, people followed one brutally simple firewood rule that kept homes warm with almost nothing. And once you understand it, modern heating starts to look less like progress and more like an expensive detour. This isn't nostalgia. This is physics, survival, and hard-earned wartime logic that worked when failure meant freezing. Now let's get into it. The rule everyone followed without questioning. The rule was simple. Firewood heat is not about how much you burn. It's about when, how, and what you burn. Most people today think warmth comes from constant fire. Keep the heater on, keep feeding it fuel, keep paying the bill. Wartime households did the opposite. They burned hot, burned smart, and then stopped. You know, they understood that firewood is not really fuel for the air. It's fuel for the structure. The walls, the floors, the furniture, bricks, iron stoves, and, well, even the bed frame. The goal back then was never to heat the room, not exactly. The goal was to charge the house with heat. Once the structure absorbed that heat, it would release it slowly for hours, long after the fire went out. And honestly, that single idea is the rule modern heating quietly forgot. Short, intense fires beat endless weak ones. During the Second World War, fuel shortages forced people to rethink everything, you know. Coal was rationed, gas was unreliable, and electricity was limited. Firewood became precious, so folks just stopped burning all day. They built one strong fire, usually in the morning or evening. High flame, dry wood, maximum heat output in a short time. No smouldering, no babysitting, really. Why? Because a weak fire wastes energy, plain and simple. Most of its heat goes straight up the chimney. A hot fire, though, transfers heat faster into masonry, metal, and thick materials before escaping. Once those materials were hot, they acted like batteries. That's why old homes stayed warm overnight, with no fire burning. The house itself became the heater. Modern systems heat air. Air escapes. Wartime systems heated mass. Mass holds. That difference is everything. Here's a fact most people miss. Wet wood steals heat before it gives any. Freshly cut wood can be over 50% water. Burning it wastes energy just to boil moisture out. That means cooler fires, more smoke, and less warmth. During the war, households seasoned firewood for 1 to 2 years. Not weeks, years. Wood was split smaller, stacked off the ground, and exposed to wind, not hidden, not wrapped. Airflow mattered more than rain protection. Dry wood burned hotter and faster. That was the goal. Hot fire, short burn, maximum transfer. Modern users often do the opposite. They burn damp logs slowly and wonder why the room never warms up. The stove was placed with ruthless intention. Stoves weren't decorative. They were weapons against cold. They were placed centrally, not against outside walls. Heat was directed inward, not wasted on freezing masonry. Iron stoves were preferred because, well, metal absorbs and radiates heat long after the flames die. Brick surrounds were added not for looks, but for thermal mass. Some homes even heated stones or bricks near the fire and moved them into sleeping areas. Beds became warm zones without fire risk. This wasn't comfort culture. This was survival design. Every decision asked one question: where will this heat stay the longest? Rooms were sacrificed without regret. Here's the part modern homes refuse to accept. Not every room needs heat, you know. Wartime families closed doors, hung heavy curtains and blocked stairwells. Bedrooms were smaller, darker and warmer by design. 1 or 2 rooms were lived in, while the rest were cold and ignored. This reduced heat loss dramatically. Less space, less fuel, more control. Modern heating tries to warm entire buildings equally, but that's not efficiency. That's convenience disguised as progress. Another uncomfortable truth: people dressed for winter indoors. Wool layers, thick socks, nightcaps, heavy blankets. Bedding was insulation, not decoration. This allowed lower room temperatures without suffering. Instead of forcing buildings to feel like summer, people adapted themselves slightly. The energy savings were enormous. Heating wasn't about comfort at all costs. It was about resilience. Here's the quiet scam. Modern heating sells constant warmth but delivers constant loss. Warm air leaks, thermostats cycle endlessly, fuel is burned continuously to fight physics. The Firewood rule worked with physics. Heat the mass, trap the heat, reduce the space, stop the burn. One controlled fire could keep a home warm for most of the day. That's not backward. That's efficient. You don't need to live in a bunker or go off-grid to learn from this. Even today, using shorter, hotter burns, better insulation, dry fuel and zone heating can cut heating costs dramatically. More importantly, it restores control. Wartime heating wasn't passive. People, really understood their homes. They worked with them, not against them. They knew where heat went and how to keep it. That kind of knowledge didn't just disappear because it stopped working. It disappeared because cheap energy made us, a bit lazy. And now, cheap energy is gone. The real lesson the Second World War left us, honestly, is this. The Firewood rule wasn't just about firewood, it was about respecting heat as a limited resource. When people were forced to think, they discovered systems that were smarter, tougher, and, oddly enough, more effective than what came later. Modern heating isn't a scam because it's evil. It's a scam because it forgot the basics. Heat mass, not air. Burn hot, not long. Shrink the space. Dress for the season. That's how people stayed warm when failure wasn't an option. If you found this useful, go ahead and hit subscribe for more real survival history from life in wartime WWII. Share this with someone who thinks modern living has all the answers. And remember, the past wasn't stupid. It was tested.